Made easy we are in the group over here, and it's my pleasure today. I'm going to bring on Emma in a few minutes' time to talk with us about LinkedIn, and we're covering the topic that Emma really has come up with here. I pushed her a bit on it, is to how to make an impact and grow your business using LinkedIn, the most powerful yet overlooked social media platform. So I'm looking forward to Emma coming on in a few minutes and unpacking this with us. I would just say, if you're joining us now, please let me know. I've got some people that are coming in from Facebook. We've got others that are coming in from YouTube. We're cleverly streaming to both platforms at the minute. So let me know when you come on. Give me a wave or something and let me know you're here. The other thing that we're doing is, this is a weekly slot for us. We're doing these lives, and I'm bringing different guests on here to have a chat with, have an interview with. If you want to be updated of what's coming up next, then just simply put something in the chat, and you'll get an invitation from me saying, hey, do you want updates? And we can do that all automated. Thanks to Jack for helping me out with all of that. So we are live. The whole point of this is that you can throw in your questions. We're talking about LinkedIn, which is something I'm really backward on. It's been years since I'll talk to Emma in a minute, but it's been years since I've used my LinkedIn profile. I've got a lot of questions about it, but Emma definitely pricked my ears up when she was saying about this being, a really powerful platform. I don't want to think there's a platform out there that I'm not using. And, the same for you guys. So this is going to be a great session. And without further ado, let me bring Emma on and let's start our interview. Hi, Emma. How are you doing?
Hey, Adrian. It's so lovely to be here.
Yeah, great to have you. Sorry we had a bit of a panic then, didn't we?
No, it's these things happen. That's why it's live.
Yeah, that's right. Sadly, the way we're doing this through LinkedIn, it needs to use Skype, and it's
fantastic.
not the best solution, but it's quite cool that we're actually live now. So I've got Mona on from YouTube. Hi, Mona. And Rachel's on from Facebook at the minute, and there are others. I've got different eyes on here. Let us know you're here, guys. This is cool. I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah.
So Emma, why don't you just introduce yourself? Why LinkedIn?
Absolutely.
What's your background?
Sure. So as you said, my name's Emma Weatherall. I am a digital marketing strategist. So what that basically means is I consult with companies, with individuals, with entrepreneurs, local businesses, all sorts of different types of business owners, and I help them come up with strategies that are going to help them grow their business. Now, the thing about LinkedIn is that it's really helpful, and some people think for certain types of businesses, but actually I think pretty much all businesses, and it's so overlooked because people traditionally think of it as like when they came out of uni or college, they were told, or they started a new job, they were told to kind of create a profile, connect with people, network and look for other job openings and stuff like that, use it to apply, and that's really not what it's about anymore. It's really evolved since those days, but because it's not quite as sexy or as trendy as Instagram or as Snapchat and things like that, people tend to overlook it. But it really has a lot of powerful features that rival or at the very least match the other platforms. And there are some very specific things to LinkedIn that you can't do on other platforms that really, really give it that edge for some objectives.
Fantastic. Let's keep the suspense there for a minute. I mean, certainly years ago, I set up a LinkedIn profile because Facebook was for social and LinkedIn was business. But other than kind of putting yourself out there, that was about all I ever did on it. But we just did a poll into our Pro Video Made Easy group the other week. Rachel just popped something up. Just simply asking, do you use LinkedIn? And 7 people came back and said, yes, they use it all the time. 7 people came back and said they've got an account, but they never use it. One person came back and said, no, they don't use LinkedIn. Someone else said they look at it every day, but seldom engage.
Okay.
And then one final person said occasionally when they remember. So interesting that, even really at the top there, 7 said they use it all the time. 7 said they got an account, never use it.
Yeah, and that's really interesting, and it actually mirrors what I see a lot of times when I talk to people about LinkedIn, especially when I talk to groups or in training sessions. What's interesting as well is that sometimes when people say that they use LinkedIn all the time, they might be using it for something very different to what I'm going to suggest that we're using it today. So
I'm sure.
that's always an interesting one as well.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so shall we jump in then? And we'll encourage
Absolutely.
people, please. I should have said as well, if you're watching this in the replay, then same thing applies. Please post in your questions as it's coming through. Emma and I will be around and
Yeah.
we'll come back to you with some answers as soon as we can.
Absolutely.
So Emma,
Yeah.
you'd given me 3 points that we were going to look at really, and I'm happy to go with you if we're going different to that,
Sure.
but we'll use it as a bit of a guide to get us through this and keep us on track.
Yeah, absolutely.
So why LinkedIn is different from all other platforms is what you've got.
Yeah. So it's an interesting one because LinkedIn, I think, over the years has really evolved. So it is different. The very core of why it's different is because it is the only social media platform where you have almost complete control over who enters your visibility circle, like your audience, your network, and who doesn't.
Okay.
Now, there are a couple of other different things that make it stand out, but for me, this is the main one because social media, as we know, is social. It's about building relationships, about connecting with people, learning from people, sharing things. But when you're using it for business, on most platforms, anybody can share, can view your content. On LinkedIn, however, you have to either send out invitations to the people who you think would be right for your business and who would be interested, or if people are interested, they have to request to access what I call kind of your little spheres of visibility. And that's really unique. And it's really powerful when you're trying to grow an audience that's very, very targeted to whatever your business, your services, your products are. And that's really the core of why it's very different. Because you can't imagine. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, is it still policed the same? Is it still as strict as that? I remember, it used to, if I was trying to reach out to a MD of a company, for instance, when I should just back up actually and just say that the last time I used it was when I'd got my photography commercial business, not anything like I'm doing now online. So I would kind of find a business and think, I wonder if I could get in touch with them. But you always think at the risk of, getting kicked off LinkedIn because it wasn't a proper connection. Is that still the case, or do people?
So it's not quite as strict. I understand. So when you said originally, is it quite as police? Is it quite strict? I thought, oh, that's a really interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah.
But then I realized what you meant. So
can I just approach anybody?
Yes.
Or do I have to have known them?
Yes. Okay. So no, you can approach anybody. Now, there still are settings where people can set their profile to say, oh, only connect if you know my email address or something like that. But you tend to find that most people don't do that. That's mostly either celebrities or people who are high up in a company who don't want to connect. For the majority of the time, it's simply add a connection. Now, obviously, they have to accept that, but it has become a much more open culture because it has evolved. So it's not really so much about what I think LinkedIn has tried to do over the years is move away from when it was about recruiting, when it was about like applying for jobs and networking in that way, and move towards a little bit more of like the Facebook, Instagram type of social network, but still retain that kind of core essence of we want you to have a strong, targeted, highly curated audience that is relevant to you, and so that you are also relevant to them. That's really important to LinkedIn. They value relationships much more highly than any of the other platforms.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is encouraged to approach people and
absolutely
connect. So you have an opportunity. It's a bit like a friend request, I suppose, on a personal
a little
Facebook profile.
Yeah.
Do you have an opportunity then to put a message with that request and say,
absolutely,
this is why I'm reaching out?
Yeah, and that's really valuable for some people. For a lot of the times, though, I don't actually advocate that simply because it has been a little bit overused in the past for people who are just kind of putting very generic messages. We actually find that most people get the most connections when they don't put a message and start a conversation afterwards.
Okay.
And where you can kind of see this is, I don't know if you know about LinkedIn's social selling index.
Nope.
Okay. So one of the other powerful things about LinkedIn is it has something called the SSI, or the social selling index. Now, obviously, we know that on other social media platforms, they value relationships, but LinkedIn actually has, how do I describe? It's like a gauge or a measure so that you can kind of see how the activity that you're doing, how the relationships that you're building, the impact that you're having on other people, how that stacks up against other people who are in your industry or who are looking for people in your industry. And then you can also see like how easy it is for people to get in touch with you. And it's a very clear scale. And so we can see from that LinkedIn is saying when you're having genuine conversations with people, when you're having genuine kind of interaction, and when people are looking at your content and going, oh, I like this, and starting conversations, and you're not just selling, those scales, those gauges get stronger. One of the main categories of the 5 is relationship building.
Okay. So they
So
can
that's,
see whether it's a very much a one-sided thing that you're just approaching
yeah,
people and being spammy
absolutely.
and
Yeah, absolutely.
is,
But equally, if you are reciprocating, if you're helping people out, if you're putting out a variety of content like video, for example, they really prioritize all those kinds of things, which means that actually there's a lot of scope on LinkedIn to do the same kind of relationship building that we as marketers tend to help people with on Facebook and on Instagram, which most people don't realize.
okay. So is it very much? I mean, I know we're coming on to strategies and things, so tell me to wait if it fits in.
That's
But is it is that a priority building relationships, or are we doing that by people seeing us in groups or ads or things like that and coming to us? Is
no,
an
so
idea that we are going proactively to people and targeting them?
it's a mixture of all of them. It's a mixture of all of them. And actually, through testing with various different accounts, what I've found is that even if you're only, say, for example, you're not in groups, you're not running ads, say you're just using like posting and messaging conversations and things like that, it would still rank that. So you can see that
Okay.
scale. It really does kind of. So, for example, one of the things that I advocate is having conversations with people, looking at people's content, commenting on it if it's relevant, and getting to know people that way. And in
Okay.
turn, when people comment on your stuff, having conversations. And that absolutely, if you're doing that, LinkedIn will see this is somebody who actually cares about other people and who cares about using this platform. And even though it knows you're doing that for business, it'll
Yeah,
prioritize you.
because that's frowned upon in, if I'm hearing that right, the same sort of thing on a Facebook group. You know, if I saw somebody in a Facebook group that I thought we could actually do business together, and I then sent them a personal message. A lot of groups say
Hmm.
don't contact people for.
Exactly. Whereas
Um,
LinkedIn will say if you're doing this correctly, so not just spam, oh, that person's a photographer, I will
yeah,
spam them with my wedding service,
yeah,
or something like that. If you're actually doing it genuinely, LinkedIn can say, yeah, this is the right kind of way. This person has identified that and show that in the
yeah.
SSI for you, but also help in turn, you'll show up better in search rankings, your posts will go out more, those kinds of
Okay.
things.
So in the same
Yeah.
way that your Facebook profile gets, the same
Yeah,
thing happens on
similar.
that, I believe, doesn't it? I know when I was talking to, was that Jack recently? I think that was talking
Mhm.
about many chat and things, and actually how well you're interacting and chatting with people affects
Yeah,
your profile and how well your images are
yeah.
adverts are boosted and things.
And that's an
Um,
interesting one actually, because on Facebook, while obviously it has Messenger as part of its family, Messenger has, in what was it, about 5 or 6 years ago, I can't remember, but
no.
it's a separate app now, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Whereas messaging on LinkedIn is an integral part of the platform. So you can more naturally take conversations to a one-to-one basis without it being a big deal. On Facebook and Instagram, there's like etiquette issues where you
Yes.
very much like you said in the Facebook groups, or you say, do you mind if I DM you, or something like
Yeah.
that. In LinkedIn, it's just, messaging and posts and that kind of thing. They're just a part of, oh, I'm going to contact Adrian because, he seems like a friendly guy and we have something in
Yeah.
common and let's spark a conversation. And it's just an integral part, which makes it that much easier and also removes some barriers, really.
Do you think it's because at its core, LinkedIn is a business app program rather than Facebook being a personal one, or
It's
is that maybe
possible.
the muddied water on Facebook that it's kind of hanging a minute? Where's the fine line between
Yeah,
business
yeah,
and
yeah, it's an
personal?
interesting one. I think you're right about Facebook. It hasn't quite figured that out yet, how to,
Yeah,
how to marry the personal and business. And I think with LinkedIn, it's actually, I would say, one of the hangovers from that time where it was about kind of new graduates and very much corporate companies being on it.
yeah.
It's one of the hangovers that actually has a positive effect now, because now it's a lot more. There's a lot more rich content that you can put in, literally putting in documents and things
Okay.
like that into messages, which is really helpful.
Oh, really?
Um, yeah, all those kinds of things are really, really great. And yeah, and that's where earlier on where I said it's like a mishmash, it's evolved. That's one of the things that is a hang up, but is now really, really beneficial to us as business owners.
Yeah. So you're obviously looking, it's not just LinkedIn that you're doing. You're helping business with all their social media and things like this, but
Yeah.
but it is standing out to you then. This is something you've specialized in because you can see an opportunity here to.
Yeah, I mean, I specialize in a couple different things, but LinkedIn is something that people really don't understand.
I know, yeah.
Yeah. And oftentimes I'll come across a company or an individual who is using LinkedIn, like you said, people saying they're on it every day, but they're not getting results from it, or they're getting
No.
frustrated from it, or they could be doing it better. And I look at their profiles or what they're doing, and really it could, because what I do is I develop strategies for people, and
Okay.
obviously different platforms are beneficial to different objectives, different companies, but LinkedIn is one of those that people just seem to ignore, where it could be a real powerhouse for them to get leads and drive traffic. And that's the other thing people don't realize. It's fantastic for building traffic driving funnels onto and for generating leads, which are great for a number of businesses.
Well, you've just led us straight on to our second point.
Oh, yeah.
How to use it for lead generation. So carry on. That's brilliant.
Awesome. See, I'm a natural at this. So one of the things, like we've just been talking about messaging, and that's one of the core fundamental things that's really helpful for lead generation. So
Okay.
I talk about something, just I only use this language because people are quite familiar with it, but I talk about something called like a messaging funnel.
Okay.
And I don't mean it in a spammy way. It just means having a conversation that leads people to a specific point. And so if we think about funnels, a lot of people here, and we narrow them down.
Yeah.
If we plan out conversations with a couple of different routes to different services, different products that we have, it's very easy when you're having conversations with people, if they express an interest, or if you ask them questions to help kind of segment. I'm only using that language because obviously that's the kind of marketing world that I live in, but to segment them as to, oh, this service, or not a service at all, you're just going to become a business friend or something like that. Then you can then lead them into, okay, well, would you like to jump on a call about this? Or would you like to book something on the calendar? Or here's like a menu of services, or whatever it is. And that's really successful on LinkedIn because people are expecting it to be for business. They're not approaching it. One of the things about Facebook is that people can often get caught off guard because they think you're having a conversation where at different ends, we think we're having a business conversation. They think we're just inquiring.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, they go into it knowing, well, let's see what happens from this because this person has interesting services or products. Yeah. Let's actually engage. So that's a really, really, really helpful way to do that. I don't know if you've ever kind of business messaged with people on LinkedIn in that way.
I haven't. I've done nothing really on LinkedIn. I'll bear all in a minute and explain all that to you. But so I just want to say, you're saying about funnels and things here. Then this isn't. You don't mean an automated thing like a ManyChat would do. This is you having a visual kind of chart that says, right, I'm going to start with this person and take them through this. Yeah.
Absolutely. And one of the things about that is partly because it's more natural. So if something just goes off, at a tangent, it's very easy for you to kind of, just adapt. The other thing is that it is a little bit more time consuming LinkedIn because there are things that have to be done manually. But the third thing is that one thing about LinkedIn, which is different from the other platforms, is it is very hard lined on automation and bots. You will literally get your account shut down if you start using. There are a lot of third party companies and apps and stuff that will put together bots to do things, but you'll find they disappear very quickly because LinkedIn they're very hard on that. And that's another thing about them prioritizing real relationships. They don't want it to be taken over by bots and automation. So, yeah.
Okay, so so that's what I'm hearing then, is that the way to build in these for lead generation is very much as a personal approach and messaging.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but when I'm speaking with my clients as a consultant, I do always advise them that, relationships and actually being real with people and coming from a very natural front it's social media is about being social. It's about being human. So I don't know about you, but that really resonates with my approach.
Absolutely. And John's just posted here on YouTube saying that's definitely a plus. John, presumably you're using this then. Let us know back in the comments.
Yeah, I'd love to know whether that's something that you're using that you find a plus, or if you are thinking it's a plus from hearing it from us talking about it.
Yeah. I like this, and I think I'm very interested. I think if you're talking about a strategy then, so somebody somebody like me, then I probably haven't looked at LinkedIn for about 4 years. And even then, I set it up because I thought I needed to. Sorry, John's just saying from us talking about it.
Okay.
So, yeah, I've kind of... I used it and very successfully at different points. I actually got into the Red Arrows through somebody that I kind of knew who recommended somebody else, and
Okay.
I actually got and did a virtual tour, which is what I was doing with the Red Arrows. So
yeah.
that was an incredible job for me that came through LinkedIn. But I did find it very hard to, or I felt myself like, oh, I don't know if I should be approaching this person because it says here, do you know them from school? Do you, all these kind of things.
Yeah. So that doesn't exist anymore. When you connect with someone, it will not ask you where you know them from and that kind of thing. That really, yes, that was a restrictive aspect of it. Now it's very much moved towards what at the time people called themselves open networkers, if they were just like, I'll connect with anyone. Well, that's now where LinkedIn has shifted to, where it just kind of applies those principles. Yeah.
So where would someone like me start? John's just said he's got a love-hate relationship with LinkedIn.
Well, don't we all? I have a love-hate relationship with every social media platform.
Don't we all? Yeah. I'm just curious. I'm like, you talk about LinkedIn and it being this great platform that everyone's missing out on, and I think I don't want to be one of those people that's ignoring this thing because I don't get it. So I'm not totally starting from scratch. I think I've scribbled down on here. I think I've got where did it go? 876 connections on here that aren't particularly relevant to what I'm doing now.
Very common, yeah.
So partly from my perspective, but where would you suggest if that's where someone that's listening is? Maybe they dabbled at it and they got a bit of an account. Is it a case of starting from scratch, or do we kind of build that up, or where would you start to?
Sure.
With a new profile, really, or a new coming at it fresh.
So this is where strategy comes in.
Yeah.
So what I say to people when you approach LinkedIn or any social media platform is, what is your purpose on being here? Like, what are you hoping to get out of it? So if you are looking to generate leads for a one-to-one service business, for example, or a coaching or consulting business, or for an agency, or if you are wanting to drive traffic, perhaps you've got another funnel set up, or you've got a course or some kind of service, or you've got a website for your local business, if you want to drive footfall, what is your objective, first of all? Now, once you know that, that can then inform your interactions and your decisions going forward on LinkedIn. So the first thing I would say to do is, once you've decided, what do I want to get from this? Lead generation, traffic driving, whatever it is that you want to do, have that in mind, and then look at your profile and optimize it. So the first thing anyone should be doing, whether they're approaching it for the first time or whether they are jumping in like yourself after 4 or 5 years, go to your profile and optimize it. And by optimize it, I mean approach it with whoever it is that you want to be talking to or who you want to attract to your business. Approach it with them in mind. But
like
also
you with your website or...
Yeah, absolutely. Or with your business page on Facebook.
Yeah.
And have a look. And one of the things about LinkedIn is it gives a lot of different space for sections and text and background. And what I advise...
Are there different templates, or is it standard?
Yeah, there's no templates. It's all standard, but you can kind of manipulate it how you want. They have rich media that you can put in. So PDFs, if you're a restaurant and you want a menu, for example, or just images that position your brand, or anything like that. Links, you could drive them to another a funnel or a website of yours or something like that. They have a headline, so you can describe yourself very clearly, a short bio, and then they've got what they call experience, which is really, this is what I do. This is how I help people. This is what I can do for you. This is what I offer. And what I say to people is, because experience in the old way, that was like a CV. People saw it as a CV. And
I've got my old school and all my old jobs and everything on there. And I'm like, who wants to see that?
1987 up until now. Yeah. And I get a lot of people who say, okay, just delete it all. I just want to get rid of it. Just put what my current job is. But I actually say, don't do that, because then you look like a robot who was set up 2 years ago. And you want to give people an idea of who you are. how you got to this point, what you're about, like what are your values, or how did you develop this experience. So go back through your old jobs if you have them. If you've been in the same company your whole life, that's fine. But go back through your old positions or companies or whatever. And yes, you may want to remove some, but for the majority of them, think about it in terms of a story. So I talk about building up a story in your LinkedIn profile of who to. So if you start from the bottom, because it scrolls, so you're starting at 1987. How did you get to where you are now? How did you get to the point where you're owning your own pet business, or starting your coaching business, or running, a video academy? And so, for example, if I just use my own profile, for example, people will see on there that I was a concert pianist about 12 years ago.
Really?
And people say, yeah, I was. before I started this business, I was a concert pianist. And people say, why do you keep that on your LinkedIn? It has nothing to do with you as a consultant. But in the story of who I am, it does, because I was a concert pianist. I was always creative. I was always strategic. I taught people and ran workshops. And so in the way I've worded that in my LinkedIn profile, added to everything over the last 12 years, people can see that I have always been an educator. I've always been an innovator. I've always been a teacher and a leader. And that contributes to the story as people are looking through it of who I am, of who you are when you put that story together. So that's what I mean by optimizing your profile, putting it together so that when someone approaches it, they have a really rounded picture of, this is the company I'm working with, or this is the person who leads that company that I would like to work with. And that's really powerful, really powerful.
Okay. Is it the kind of thing, are you posting regularly, like on Instagram or somewhere, that you're just status updates and things, or is it purely coming at it from a business perspective?
Yeah, so you can do either, and that really depends. For some people, they're a personal brand, and I'm sure you talk to your audience a bit about, personal branding with video and that kind of thing. And it's the same on LinkedIn. If you've decided that you want to be doing that as part of your social media, then absolutely, you can be doing that kind of thing. Essentially, what you want to be doing is making full use of the posting platform just as you would on a Facebook page, and making sure your content is relevant, that it's interesting, that it gets people to engage, gets people to have conversations and that kind of thing. And we talk about something called stopping the scroll. So you want to stand out. It's exactly the same. And actually, I thought about this when I was jumping on here. So LinkedIn for the past year and a half, has really prioritized video. You will see people who video on LinkedIn, their posts will come up every day. I see them every single day. Whereas people who don't post any video at all, I sometimes have to search for them, or they only come up every now and then. And LinkedIn will even show older video from a week ago or something like that. And live video has just come out, which is very exciting. So
yeah, well, I saw that. Was it saying in the States it was just coming out, or is that out now in the UK?
It's out in the UK if you have an active enough account. So I know that sounds really vague, but they're rolling it. They're rolling it out. It'll be here. It'll be here soon. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Because at first they just gave it to, and this is interesting. So people often don't think there are LinkedIn influencers, but there are LinkedIn influencers with bigger followers than YouTube influencers.
Really?
Which is amazing because people don't see it as that kind of platform. But yeah, they rolled it out to those kinds of people first, people who are most active and influential, and then they kind of rolled it out across America, and then they came across the pond, and we're slowly getting it.
Fantastic. So again, a bit like IGTV and all the rest of it, I suppose. Try for the early adopters trying to get noticed and beyond there, then live video is really going to be
absolutely. But even without live video, just regular recorded video, if you have them from other platforms, or if you produce video separately, that absolutely above and away above every single other type of content, you will be seen first every single day if you put up video on LinkedIn. And
you say about putting a video on LinkedIn, what is that like? Is this on my profile, or is this out on?
So anything that you do on LinkedIn is essentially connected to your profile. So when you're posting, it's going out into I'm going to equate to the news feed, and it goes out on there. But there is a little link on your profile where people can click activity, they can click on posts, and they can see what you've put out recently, or who else's content you've interacted with and what you've said there. So this is why it's really key that when people, you remember I said it right at the beginning about how LinkedIn has gives you the power to curate your own audience. It's really, really key that you understand who your audience is, and that you connect with the right people and accept connections with the right people, because then you've kind of then got like an ecosphere type thing. Oh, sorry, a bird just flew into my window.
Oh.
It didn't not like what I was saying. Oh, poor thing. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, your audience. Yeah, if you curate it, then they're seeing who you're interacting with, the kinds of comments you're saying. They're seeing like any value or support you're giving to other people. They're seeing you as a well-rounded human being and a helpful business and a knowledgeable and experienced business, because they can see your posts, they can see your profile, and anywhere that you interact on LinkedIn, your little tagline underneath your image, your title, will show up. So people can always see who you are, but also what you do.
Okay.
So that's really important.
So how is that being boosted out then? Is that based on people that are liking it and things, or how is my video getting in front of people?
So your video is getting in front of people because LinkedIn loves video.
Yeah.
So we'll be showing it to as many people as possible. But any other posts will be shown out to
based
people.
on, am I tagging it and things then, or is it like YouTube where you would?
And use hashtags, yeah. But it's a combination. So the main things are your general profile over and across LinkedIn. So that's where the social selling index comes in, keeping an eye on it, just making sure that you're doing all the things well on LinkedIn. Okay. It's also how well people interact with your content, but also it does do, like Facebook, it does do post reading. So it can see, oh, this is something that is topical or something that people will be interested in, or it looks engaging. And the more you do that, the more it'll push out to people. Okay. Yeah, so it's similar to the Facebook algorithm.
Is it still very much a case of joining groups and things and
that's a tricky
promoting
one.
in there?
So up until about 3 months ago, I would have said no. LinkedIn groups really became kind of like a no-go area for a long time.
Oh, really?
So they were very helpful, but then became very full of spam. In the last 6 months, LinkedIn has done a lot of work to change that. So part of its updates have been to make the groups, the community-based places that they were a while ago, and having been keeping an eye on them for a number of my clients, I would actually say that they are a good place to go back to now. So they are a little bit more powerful in some ways than Facebook groups, because everybody gets notified every time people post, and you can put a lot of rich media, and they tend to be moderated very, very strongly.
Yes.
Which is a really good thing. However, they can get very large, and because of the way that LinkedIn's newsfeed works, sometimes it's almost like they're in a separate room because the layout is different. So that is one thing. But as I said, they are working on them, and I think they're very powerful. For some people, they would be powerful to own groups, to set up groups. For other people, if you're kind of lead generating or wanting to establish your brand as somebody, expertise or knowledge, then joining the right groups to support people and answer questions and things would be a really good.
So you would set up a group in the same way that you'd set up a Facebook group, and
it's quite simple.
People come in and
and I think the criteria for groups on LinkedIn has always, and this is a really good thing, it's always been a lot tighter than for Facebook groups. Oftentimes people set up Facebook groups and they're quite broad, whereas on LinkedIn they're always either professionals in specific niches or people looking for things, and they're usually very clearly not only titled, but the description, and then the moderators really hold that space in a good group to make sure that it's for that specific group of people. So they're actually very good to search for and kind of take part in if you find some good ones.
Fair enough. I'm going to ask you in a minute for some good examples of that. There's a couple of comments on here. Mike just popped in a little while ago. Sorry, Mike, I didn't get to you earlier. Are there any real benefits? Are there any real business benefits of the paid version of LinkedIn?
Okay, yeah. So yes and no. So what I'm going to say is yes, if you know what you're doing.
Okay.
Because it is very expensive. The cheapest one is your audience. Are we talking mostly in the UK or US dollars?
US.
Yeah. So the cheapest one I think is around $35-$40, and it goes all the way up to about $120 a month.
Right.
So, I mean, there's 4 different categories for different purposes of how you're using LinkedIn. So first off, you need to be confident of what you're doing with it. But secondly, because it's so expensive, you want to make sure that you're using all the functions within it. The main thing that I would say that's helpful on even the lowest level of paid on LinkedIn is the analytics. So if you are using LinkedIn to grow your business, to start conversations, to generate leads, or to drive traffic, being able to see who has interacted with your content, who has visited your page 2 or 3 times in the last couple of days, enables you to say, well, this guy's interested. They've checked my page out 6 times last week. Let me go and just start a conversation, see if I can help them with anything. And that's something you can only do on the paid version. They give you they give you a teaser in the free version, but then when you click on it, they go, you can get this with the paid.
Can you jump in and out of it? Is the kind of thing you could say, right, I'm having a blitz for a month and... Yeah.
And in fact, I believe they still offer they do most of the time offer a 30-day free trial. What I tend to say is take a course or understand it, play around and understand it. Yeah. When you feel confident, get that 30-day free trial, do a whole load of stuff, and then
see whether it's worth continuing.
Yeah. There are a few other analytics as well that are really quite helpful when you're trying to grow and see what's working and that kind of thing.
Okay. John just said on here as well, again, apologies, John, not getting... I'm trying to keep the conversation going, so I can see some questions coming in, and I'm just waiting until we pause like this. And so John had just put on here, so it's not just your connections that see your posts then?
No, it's not, which is one of the good things. So I'm going to describe something. I wish I had my diagram here, but I wasn't sure that we were going to go on to this, so I'm going to use my hands. So basically how I like to describe LinkedIn connections is there's like 3-ish spheres of it, kind of visibility. So there's you in the middle.
Yep.
And then you have like this circle here. So you're here, you have this circle. These are all your connections that you're directly connected with.
Okay.
But then each one of these people obviously has their own circle. And that's called your second sphere of connectivity. So then you have a second sphere, which is all of their first connections. And then, of course, they themselves. So it's kind of like concentric rings going out. So one of the good things about LinkedIn is you can easily reach new audiences because you already have built in these 2 extra layers of audiences who are not yet warm, but you have access and they have access to you. So the more you interact with other people's content, the more their circles are going to see your comments, your interactions, click on your name or follow up with what you're doing, come and see your posts, and the more you're likely to be able to build that warm audience for whatever you're trying to do.
Okay. Yeah. Brilliant. John put no worries. Thank you, John. Fantastic. So where are we going next?
So
video specifically, and I know we've so for the likes of me, for instance, and I know a lot of my customers are yes, there are kind of sales videos and things, but I encourage people to use YouTube to very much get content in front of people then. Awesome. So the same thing as what you've just been saying this already, really, but posting these out, so not necessarily into groups, but just putting them on my profile, then on my feed out.
I would have them as part of your content strategy. I would have them as part of what you're putting out to connect with people, to help them view your brand, understand your brand, develop that kind of affinity with your brand and that kind of thing. And you can also use them to direct to other people. So one of the things that I said to you and or in the description for this live is how you can drive traffic from LinkedIn. And there's a number of different ways you can do it. But one of those ways is with video and articles. So in videos, most of the time, and I'm kind of guessing here, because I've seen some of your videos, but I don't know whether you teach this. But I'm going to assume that when people are using videos for business, they usually have, in at least some of them, a call to action near the end.
Yes.
And so if you have that on LinkedIn, you can put, just as you would with Facebook, but Facebook really doesn't like links. LinkedIn loves links. You can put links to whatever it is that your call to action is, and send people over there. Now, one of the things I love about LinkedIn is you can kind of create a mini funnel within LinkedIn, because if you have video, if you have your profile and you use like the links and the rich media and stuff like that on your profile, if you make use of articles, you can link people to various parts of your LinkedIn presence. And it really is a presence on LinkedIn because there's a lot of different options. Then people get to know you more, and they can read more about what you do. They can really explore, kind of like a website, but really dynamic. And then at each point, you're going to have links through to wherever it is you want to drive traffic, wherever it is you want to build a business. And as they read more, as they see more, as they drop in on your in-depth articles or watch your videos or read your profile, they've got opportunities to learn more about you, to warm towards you. And each time they've got an opportunity to click through. And that is a really powerful traffic driver, rather than just like on Facebook having a scrolling feed of just post, post, post.
Yeah, yeah. So can you kind of do this all in LinkedIn then, rather than, because I know, again, YouTube, John and others on here from YouTube, the times when I've come over to my Facebook group, and it's almost like I'm swearing because they don't want to come to Facebook. They're happy on YouTube. And, can you kind of stay on LinkedIn and
you absolutely can.
and build all this up?
Yeah,
So
you really can. And in fact, I'll share something with you. So
Yeah.
where are we? So 12 months ago, were we 12 months ago? Maybe 15 months ago, I took a different direction in my business, and I started building a social media agency. So I work as a consultant and coach, but I also have an agency where we handle people's social media for them.
Okay, yeah.
And I built that agency up entirely from scratch using only LinkedIn. We didn't even have a website at the time. And I built it to the point where I had to say, okay, stop, we've got too many leads. We've got too much traffic. Hold your horses. And I did that entirely with the ways that we've been talking about on this live, just through using LinkedIn. No other platform. I wasn't using any other platform to grow that agency. And to this date, I think we've just set up the Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook page, and we're building them out and building the website out. LinkedIn is the only active platform that we have, and it's purely where we get our agency clients from. Yeah.
And could you do that on any other platform?
I think that because
I'm trying to think
I think I could do it on Facebook. I think that I could. I could, but because at the time we just wanted to get directly leads in, and we had an approach that I've shared. It's pretty much what I've shared with you. We said, where are the kinds of companies? And this is where it comes down to audience and like your own business as well. Yeah. We sat down and said, well, what companies do we want to work with for social media? So you might sit down and go, what kind of clients do I want? Or who do I want to come into my store? Or who do I want to coach? That kind of thing. And we decided that they're all on LinkedIn from the research that we did. And so that's why we hit it. And then using all the strategies that we have, it just exploded. Yeah.
And I love that. That's, you've come at this. I remember when I was talking to Jack Longer, as well, talking about messenger bots. And I said to him, I love that he got into messenger bots because it was what he was using and people were asking him about it. It's exactly my story with video. I'm a photographer, but I started making videos and people said, how do you do that?
Yeah.
So I then teach video and you're the same. I think when it organically grows like that and you don't just go, right, there's an opportunity, I'm going to learn how to do it so that I can make some money out of it. But it's genuinely been something you've used and proved.
Definitely.
It's a lovely way to...
It's definitely the story. And I think I come across a lot of entrepreneurs who do that. So if we just go back even further, I started my consulting business 9 years ago because I had an entirely different business. I was using, at the time, Facebook ads had just come out. So Instagram didn't exist. I'm that old, guys. And people saw what I was doing with Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter, and they said, I spoke with some massive companies who said, please help us do that. And that's how I got into consulting. And that's, 10 years ago. So I think it is how a lot of people, fitness people, they tend to get into things because they had an experience or a journey and they wanted to share it with other people. So it means that we've got a lot of passion for what we do as well. So yeah.
So Emma, who's using it well? Who are good examples that we could look at?
Good example. Okay, so there is a fantastic guy who, I'm going to forget his last name now, so I'm just going to fact check this so that I get it right. Yep. His name is Quentin, but I can't remember his last name. He's got a really awesome hat, which is part of his brand. He's an absolutely lovely guy. I speak with him. But I'm going to get his...
we could pop some into the comments. It's the first thing I want to do. Someone talks about YouTube or, how to set up an Instagram profile or whatever it be. And I just show me some examples. Show me what to...
Yeah. So I would look up Goldie Chan, who is a really interesting woman because the reason I usually quote her is because people think, this is something that I haven't mentioned actually, people often think that LinkedIn, even when you're running it, even if they learn everything, even if they think, okay, yeah, I agree with you, Emma, you're talking sense, it's not nonsense, I think it's okay. They still think that LinkedIn has to be super, super professional. They still think that LinkedIn has to be, and you have to wear a suit. And when you do your videos, maybe they've got too much personality, so you shouldn't put that one on LinkedIn. Or you have to tone down your personality or something like that. And it's not the case. So the reason I mentioned Goldie Chan is because she has grown in the last few years to become one of LinkedIn's major influencers, and she speaks at a lot of LinkedIn events. She is really lovely. She got really well known because of a video series she did. She did a video every single day, and instead of taking it to YouTube or Facebook, she did it on LinkedIn. And now she has a vlog, and she has, varying colors. I think last time I checked it was fluorescent green, her hair. And she is a really vibrant personality, and she's not the kind of person that you would think of when you associate LinkedIn, but she's a prime example of how being yourself, how using it strategically, how taking advantage of the priorities that LinkedIn gives, so relationship building, community, and video, really does help to boost it. And so by watching what she does, it really is that kind of proof of like the strategy of story.
Because to be honest, I'm coming at this going, I'm thinking I'm talking to entrepreneurs, course creators. Actually, a lot of recent customers have either been lawyers or solicitors or, sales coaches, and they're in their commercial job, and they're now wanting to shift over and, put an online course up there. Or actually some of them that are, one of my customers is thank you. Laurie's just posted into the Facebook page Goldie's link there on LinkedIn. Thank you ever so much, Laurie, for doing that.
Thank you.
So I'm kind of
just while I'm thinking about it, the other person, Quentin, his last name is Allums, Allums. He's brilliant, and he has a lot of personality. He has a very cool hat, which I'm envious of. But actually, what I love about him is he uses it very much for business, for growing his own business and his brand. So he's a great one to follow. Sorry.
So there you go, Laura. You can pop that link in as well for us. There's your homework. No, I'm just saying. No, it's so. If I'm honest, I'm sort of going, okay, maybe my avatar, my ideal customer is not who I thought it was. More and more people are coming from a commercial background or are still in that commercial space, and that's why I'm thinking, okay, maybe I need to be in this. So I am coming at this thinking I'm attracting those corporate people. Yeah. Hadn't really thought that it's almost competing with the Facebook and YouTube audiences.
Yeah, I would say that there is a competition there, but it really is, like, from a strategy point of view, it really is about defining who your audience is. It really is about understanding, like you're saying, thinking they're one thing and then finding out they're another. Yeah. And for lawyers and people like that, they likely do have a really good network on LinkedIn. And this is where if they're doing a course where, and actually we see this across the board, there are a lot of people coming from corporate who are now coming into entrepreneurship. They can leverage their networks, and they need to be where their existing audience is or who they're trying to teach to or to coach. And likely for those kinds of people, they've built up LinkedIn in the more traditional way that we were saying, we don't like it. But that's probably where they've come from. And they can then build that on that with kind of the new way, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. Laurie's just posted in here. Not sure if it's correct. Has a cool hat.
If he has a cool black hat, it's probably him.
Tag just Q.
Possibly. I tell you what, I was trying to look on my. I've got my phone. I'll just quickly look it up on LinkedIn. But it's there can't be too many Quentins with cool hats.
No, so how do I get in front? If I suddenly think, okay, I'm interested in targeting solicitors, and I've got no connections at all. It's a totally new audience to me. Where do I start with that? You're saying it's not groups particularly. It's me putting things out, speaking to them.
Yeah, I think sorry, my foot's going a little bit numb. I'm just going to shift the position a little bit. I think using groups probably is still a good play, but it's a longer term strategy, just like in Facebook groups, when you're networking and getting to know people, it's kind of a complementary thing that's going to take a little bit longer. So my first thing to find these people, one of the things about LinkedIn, they're just super easy to find. You just search that into these, I haven't talked about this before. They have a search function, so you can literally just type in, for example, say your people were lawyers or solicitors or associate managers of something. You would just type that in, select people. You can even refine it by location, by previous companies they've worked at. If you want to target people who are, for example, HR companies might want to target I know an HR coach, and she wants to target people from like the big five management consultancies, things like that. And you can absolutely do that. Languages they speak, that kind of thing. And of course, this is where, because not everybody uses LinkedIn really well, they may not have given any of that information. But for the most part, LinkedIn is very, very accurate. And also for the most part, people do put that kind of thing in. So you just search and obviously refine the search if you find that it's not quite what you want. But it's pretty accurate. If you type in a fairly broad search term, you'll most likely get out what you want.
And you're looking at individuals. This is for you to contact individuals.
Yeah. You can contact companies. So, for example, like a social media management agency or a PR company or a consultant or a trainer for teams or something like that. Yes, you could absolutely look at companies. But I think for building relationships, for the most part, you want to be identifying somebody within the company who you would want to develop a relationship with. And in fact, there are a lot of entrepreneurs on LinkedIn, a lot of entrepreneurs. So I find that, for coaches, people coming up with courses and things, just finding the right kinds of people on LinkedIn, they can really, really develop a very good audience.
Very cool. John's just posted on here, Emma, and just put, that's Quinton. And coincidentally, he and I have mutual connection.
There you go.
Guys, we're not getting it. There's people I'm watching here. I'd love some questions from you. What do you think to this? Where are you at with LinkedIn? It's great that you're here. You're watching along, but this is an opportunity to really ask anything that's relevant to you.
I'd love to hear what challenges people have had when because sometimes I come across people who they know that they should be on LinkedIn, or they feel that they should, or they've done the research, and people say to me, I know my audience is on LinkedIn, but I just don't want to be on it because it's so boring, or it's so difficult, or it's
another platform. I think that's the thing, isn't it? I've been doing that with Instagram recently, going, it's not my native platform, and I'd much rather make a video on YouTube that I know is going to be there for 5 years. And I'm like, do I have to do another one? So I'm kind of going, LinkedIn, really?
Well, I work with a couple of people who their native platform, their main platform is YouTube, but they use Instagram, to send people over. They use IGTV for teasers.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
John's just saying he's reconsidering it now.
Awesome. I feel like that's a win.
Yes, yeah. Shame we're not getting commission out of signing people up to LinkedIn. We'll talk in a minute, but I'm sure you've got some course or something you can help us with. Emma, before we do, just, maybe people are just scratching their heads wondering what they can be writing in, or writing in a big long question, because I know there's always a delay on these lives. Advertising. Is there a paid advertising program like you can on Facebook? I'm totally ignorant to...
See, this is why LinkedIn would never give me a commission, because there is paid advertising on LinkedIn. Stay away from it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at least for the most part. I think this is one part of LinkedIn that I would say is still stuck in the kind of recruiting corporate area. Okay. So if you are an HR person, if you are a recruiter, or if you're looking for a job, or any of those kinds of things, or if you're looking to fill a position, then it is brilliant for putting adverts out. It's great for finding people to fill a role. But for most of us as entrepreneurs, that's not that relevant. I mean, when we grow, we often do put out adverts, but Facebook and our network and, regular things like Indeed.com and LinkedIn may be part of that strategy. But unless you're doing that, or until you've got to that point, their ads are not as sophisticated as Facebook's. And the way that they manage the ad budget is really not fantastic. So I actually advise people, unless you have a lot of money to spend testing, to stay away from it and to rely on the powerful functions that it has elsewhere.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, I thought you'd have said, it's this untapped market and they're trying to get people advertising there.
Facebook ads all the way.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. That's one thing I haven't got to learn.
It is. I get a lot of companies who come to me and they say, we want to use LinkedIn. When they identify this, I help them come up with a strategy, and they say, and we've got this big budget to spend on ads. And I'm like, put it away. Yeah.
Pay for me to come out and
I won't touch LinkedIn ads at the moment. I won't touch them. And so
that's really good to know.
Keeping an eye on them to see if they do develop, because obviously a lot of the other aspects of the platform have. But at the moment, I wouldn't approach them.
So what could I expect to get out of LinkedIn then? If I went away and tidied up my profile and started putting up some videos, is this a long-term thing, or what sort of input, and how much should I be on this every day for an hour, or?
Yeah. So I would say you can, just like on Facebook, you can, while I did say that LinkedIn doesn't like automation, it's absolutely fine with scheduled posts. So
Okay.
I would say that see the newsfeed, see the posts in the same way that you would see a good content strategy for Facebook. Approach that with your branding, your personal brand, or however you're wanting to. I talk about 3 A's. I don't know if you talk about something like this. Affinity, authority, and awareness. So you want to connect with people, you want to let them know what you do and how you help them and the kinds of people you help, and you want to establish that kind of, I know what I'm doing, and I've got experience, that kind of thing, and also show people that you understand them. So those kind of core bits of content, bit of inspiration and stuff, and whatever your content strategy is, whether that's video, whether that's long detailed posts, just that's individual to each business. And then, yes, the profile is really important. Understanding your audience is really important. And I would really come up with a strong, like I've talked, idea of who you want to talk to, how you want to talk to them, and where you want to send them. Because ultimately, we're using social media to grow our businesses. So on LinkedIn, like with any other platform, have a sense of where do you want to send them, and then make sure that everything points there. So like I mentioned with articles or with posts or the media in your profile, make sure that you have, if you're using images, that the images are on your profile, perhaps are of things on your website, or of, if you're sending them to a PDF, for example, to build your email list, then make sure that you have the visual elements of that. So it's almost like a mini landing page kind of funnel, like within LinkedIn. People are going to click on it and go over. So you want to be always directing people. So have in mind, where do I want to send people? What do I want to do? Am I building my email list? Am I promoting a course? Whatever it is. And then make sure that you're really doing that consistently. And I would also always advocate utilizing Bitly links and Google Analytics, because you want to be able to track whereabouts in LinkedIn your leads are coming from. And to see kind of where they're going on your funnels or your websites or wherever you're sending, so that you can do more of that. You can build that up, strengthen it, that kind of thing.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is a long-term investment.
It is, but like I said, you can have very quick results on LinkedIn. You can have very quick results. So one of the things that we did when we grew the agency through LinkedIn is that because I didn't have a website set up, and I knew I wasn't going to have a website set up for ages, because I just wasn't interested in doing that. I'm a social media agency. I was using social media. And so we did everything through messaging, and we grew that to a kind of a stopping point, growth point in 3 months. So it's grown consistently from then, but I don't think it needs to necessarily be super slow. You just need to be clear on what you're doing, and then kind of go at it.
Brilliant. So Emma, we're over the hour. Thank you so much for your time here. We kind of ran out. We didn't actually get much of an opportunity up front to have a chat with you about this. But Emma, anyone on here that's watching this now that thinks, I really want to have a go at this, what can you offer them? How can you help?
So I usually send people to my Facebook page. It's just my name, Emma Wetherill, like the weather, and then ALL. I'm always sharing things on there. I share a lot of tips about different platforms, but LinkedIn especially. I know we didn't talk about this, but I have a LinkedIn course that launches every month. So it's actually opening in a couple of weeks in May. Will be the next round. It runs for 6 weeks. So you can, if you follow me on Facebook, then you'll have the opportunity to jump into that. And I'm sure I can talk to Adrian about offering you something after this.
Yeah, brilliant. And by all means, we could put a link in here then in the comments at the end of this, and if someone's following along. But you'll be able to see everyone. You can see Emma. We've tagged Emma in the comments on here, so you can see her and find a profile. But thank you ever so much. I certainly whetted my appetite to go away and have a look at my profile, and I'm going to cringe. I actually pulled it up earlier and went, oh dear, this is old.
I get that a lot, and it's good to have a laugh over it. I like to screenshot. This is not just for my clients. I do it for myself as well. I like to screenshot profiles about at least once a year, and then you
Right.
look back on them and you're like, what was I thinking?
Well, I've got about 100 messages sitting there at the minute that haven't been read, and I think it's all these people that was the thing that used to bug me with this as well. It's like, oh, congratulate so and so because he's been in his job for a year, and I'm like, what? And then I'd get all these messages come through because I'd just changed something on my profile and they thought I'd only just started work, or
Gosh, yeah,
so
no,
some weird things in there.
There's still an aspect of that. One of the things that I love about kind of having a real strategy for it, and I know we finished, is that because there's a lot of people who don't use LinkedIn that well, anybody who uses it really well stands out. It's just it's a very easy way to be seen because you know what you're doing, and they're like, oh, look at this person.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that it won't last forever. It definitely won't last forever as more people catch on, but at the moment it is a good way to stand out. And I meant to say, if anybody has any questions later on or is watching on the replay, I definitely am happy to jump in, and I'm along with Adrian. I know it's not my page, but I will help out and answer questions.
Thank you. Yeah, and do come over into the group as well, the Pro Video Made Easy group. A bit more of a chat, a bit more of a conversation over there. Guys as well, join in. It's all free over there, but it just gives us a chance to do more of these chatty lives rather than out here on the page.
Group. It's a really good group. I've been in it for when we were in London, has it been about 2 years?
Wow. I noticed actually that your profile image is a photo from when we were doing that video. No, it's on Skype here.
It is on
Skype here. I saw your profile picture.
I
remember that
video. That was fun. Yeah, that was really fun. So Adrian, you gave me a lot of confidence to get on camera, because until we had that conversation, I like live video, but I was nervous about how I looked on live video, and I think that spending that time with you, kind of doing that video test, was one of the biggest confidence boosters. So yeah, thank you.
That's really encouraging. Well, maybe we'll get another opportunity in another of these groups somewhere to come on and have a go like that. It's actually something. There's a few things like that I've been trying to decide on doing. Teleprompters is a big thing that a lot of people get stuck on, for instance. And I keep thinking, do I do a challenge on this and get people to sign up and have a go at it? And whole confidence and doing a live into a safe group, realize it's a big sticking point for a lot of people. So it's lovely to hear that.
I have heard a lot of people asking about teleprompters. I'm rubbish. I never record videos, so I shouldn't do it, because I feel much more comfortable doing live, because I feel like my personality type, making things up, just answering questions, going on the fly. I feel it's like a conversation, and that goes back to kind of those core values of humanness and realness, and being just your natural knowledge and expertise and stuff. And so down the line, I will work with you.
But I was just going to say, just flipping it around for a minute, I would definitely encourage you.
I've wanted to do recorded video for a long time.
Yeah, I'm definitely finding, and I'm forgetting we're live still. I'm definitely finding most of my customers, when I talk to them, I'm like, 90% of them, when I say, where did you first find me? It's a YouTube video. And it might have been that I was teaching them how to do a Kajabi, setting up a website, or how to do something else. But they connected with me, and they wouldn't do that if it was slides and voiceovers or other things people do.
Definitely.
So I'm a huge fan of YouTube for that reason. And I'm hoping that actually, yes, I mean, I've just recorded 6 videos today that we're now batching through and putting those out. And I'm thinking, okay, I would normally stick one version of that on my blog post, one out onto YouTube. There's no reason why I couldn't go out onto LinkedIn then and start building up the same sort of presence over there.
Definitely. And this is definitely a case of, for me at least, definitely a case of like the cobbler's son never has any shoes, that story. Because this is the kind of thing, exactly what you've described. I would be sending clients and consultants over, clients and companies over to yourself, or I'd be telling them, if you don't have that budget yet, this is what you need to be doing. But I'm not doing it for myself purely because I don't know, time or fear.
I can remember you telling me why, but I won't embarrass you on here.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, we had this conversation.
when we get off air, but in my head, I feel like it's time.
No, huge fan of video.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm
definitely.
excited to see how this can work. John saying thank you, an hour well spent. That's fantastic, John. Really encouraged and appreciate that. Yeah, so thanks ever so much, Emma. So we'll find Emma on her profile page then over on Facebook. Ironic that you're not giving us a LinkedIn profile to go to, but
I would feel so. Actually, this is an interesting point. It's an interesting point. So that's an audience question again. So actually my LinkedIn profile has now moved right over to that's mainly lead generation for the social media management side of things,
okay.
And the agency and that kind of personal branding as the head of like my agency. And what I keep Instagram and Facebook for are for my coaching and consulting business. So
really?
So consulting a little bit on LinkedIn as well, but mostly so my courses and coaching in that sense is that brand is on Facebook and Instagram. So that's definitely an audience issue. So unless you guys want to become, part of a lead for my agency, then I would recommend Instagram or Facebook. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you ever so much, Emma. Don't disappear. We're gonna wrap up here, and then we'll still be there on Skype in a second. But thank you ever so much, guys. As I say, just if you're watching this in the replay, if you haven't been on with us live, pop a comment into the chat there, and we'll just send you an invite so you know what's coming up next. Next week is very different. I'm not going to give it away. I'm going to get you to sign up, and then I can send you an invitation out. But this time next week, we've got another interview, and past that, I've got nothing scheduled, so actually I need to catch up a bit. I'm going to do a couple of videos all around video and content, and then I'm bringing on a few of the people that I've got in mind after that. But it's been great. We've done Instagram, we've done a lot of Facebook ads, messenger bots, and now LinkedIn as well. So really good to kind of cover all these different bases that are helping us all as online entrepreneurs. So thank you, Emma. And thank you all. We appreciate you all being on, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.